A 7-0 Indiana run. They're within 2 and a foul. This is to Howard for the finish. Indiana.
It's Paige Bueckers shoving Sophie Cunningham, and Sophie getting that foul call.
It's bad enough when you have the referees being so incompetent, so inconsistent, clearly calling things one way for a certain player and calling it another way for another player.
Oh, did you really think the drama would die down just because Caitlin Clark wasn't playing? Nope, not even close. Last night's Fever versus Dallas game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse quickly turned into a total mess, marked by questionable officiating, dirty tactics, and Sophie Cunningham getting absolutely shafted by refs who seemed to treat Paige Bueckers like royalty. What unfolded in Indianapolis wasn't basketball. It was more like a tutorial on how to hand a struggling Dallas team a win while completely steamrolling one of the league's fiercest defenders.
Look at that whistle go to work. That whistle going to work. You gotta be kidding me, man. Sophie literally has her hands up. Paige Bueckers pushing her. And you called the foul on Sophie? What did she do? Did she not accept the push right? How was she supposed to accept the push? Was she supposed to fall on her back? Well, she ran into Howard. I mean, was everybody supposed to fall? What happened?
This is the only league I know where Paige Bueckers can literally shove Sophie Cunningham with two hands, shove Sophie Cunningham, yet the foul is on Sophie Cunningham. It's bad enough when we have that going against us.
Sophie Cunningham got whistled for fouls so questionable, even the most clueless refs would be embarrassed to call them. When the final buzzer sounded, the Wings snatched an 81-80 win that stirred up more drama than a reality show season finale. Smash that like button and drop ref revolt in the comments, because what's coming next will fire you up hotter than a Phoenix summer. The stage was set for this mess from the start. Felt like the refs showed up wearing Dallas jerseys. Caitlin Clark was out again with her groin injury, missing her 20th game this season, leaving Fever fans seriously worried about their playoff chances. Meanwhile, the Wings came in desperate for a win after 5 straight losses and a dismal 8-24 record, basically just playing spoiler for teams actually trying to make a run.
Today's game against the Wings was a bad one, a bad loss. Based to Stephanie White, I'm based at the referees.
You lose at home to the Dallas Wings that lost to the gum on the bottom of the shoe, Chicago Sky 3 times. They lost to the Sky 3 times. You lose to the Dallas Wings. Man, stop it.
Coach Stephanie White put out a starting 5 with Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, Sophie Cunningham, Natasha Howard, and Aaliyah Boston, essentially throwing down the gauntlet and daring Dallas to try to snatch a win on their home floor. But what no one saw coming was that the real challenge wouldn't be the Wings themselves, but rather the trio of referees who looked more like the 3 blind mice, seemingly handing out whistles like party favors. Right from tip-off, it was obvious Paige Bueckers was going to get the VIP treatment from the officials, while Sophie Cunningham was set up as the scapegoat. Early in the first quarter, Paige launched a 3, and Sophie did what any solid defender would. She contested the shot. But then things took a ridiculous turn. Sophie slightly stepped into Paige's landing zone, which caused the rookie to stumble on her foot. Sure, technically that's a foul under today's super protective WNBA rules, but the way it was called screamed bias.
We have Paige pushing off Sophie Cunningham, play after play after play after play after play. Look, this is one instance right here. Sophie draped all over Paige. Paige pushing off Sophie Cunningham, yet that's a foul on Sophie Cunningham. I have no idea how. We have Paige pushing off Sophie Cunningham, yet that's a foul on Sophie Cunningham. I have no idea how. We have Paige getting guarded by Sophie Cunningham, pushing off Sophie Cunningham again, yet, of course, this is going to be a foul on, you guessed it, Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham, deny, face guard, hands are up, Paige pushes off. Oh, yep, that's a foul on Sophie Cunningham.
Sure, call the foul, fine. Give Paige her 2 free throws and move on. But these refs? They weren't content with a simple whistle. Nope, they decided to crank it up and slap Sophie with a flagrant foul for what they labeled a reckless closeout. A flagrant foul for a routine defensive play that happens dozens of times every game across the league. Sophie wasn't trying to hurt anyone. No malice, just solid defense, the kind every coach drills into players from youth leagues up through the pros. But apparently, when you're guarding Paige Bueckers, what's normally textbook defense turns into a flagrant violation that awards 3 free throws and possession to Dallas. The maddening part isn't just how bogus this call was. It's the fact Sophie was coming from Paige's side, not directly under her, making the dangerous aspect of the play laughably overblown. Watch the replay, and it's clear Sophie was just playing basketball, with contact being incidental at worst. But the refs? They smelled an opening to set the tone for this game's officiating, and they grabbed it with both hands.
Paige Bueckers can land on somebody's foot, up, flagrant foul. 3 free throws and the ball back. Kelsey Mitchell can land on somebody's foot. Just a common foul. Here, go take your free throws, and Dallas Wings will take the ball the other way. We have Sophie Cunningham going head-to-head against Paige Bueckers, smothering Paige Bueckers. Paige Bueckers pushing off every time down the court because she's not fast enough, not quick enough to create space, fighting around screens, fighting through screens, going baseline to baseline. So what does she need to do? She needs to push off on Sophie Cunningham to get herself open. Now, I know what you guys might be thinking. All right, Paige is pushing off Sophie, so there must be calling fouls on Paige. Incorrect, you are.
3 free throws for Paige, possession handed right back to Dallas, and a crystal clear message sent to every Fever player. Dare to touch their golden girl, and you'll be punished without hesitation. The crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse was absolutely furious, and rightly so. Watching their team get blatantly robbed by officials who seemed more interested in escorting Paige Bueckers to victory than calling a fair game. But hold on, it only got worse. The officiating nightmare was just beginning, and Sophie Cunningham was about to be the target of one of the most ridiculous no-calls you'll see all season. Late in the second quarter, with about a minute left on the clock, Sophie was locked in tight defense on Paige when the rookie took things into her own hands. Instead of using skill or moves to get free, Paige straight up shoved Sophie backwards, sending her stumbling with her arms flailing like she'd been hit by a truck. Sophie immediately gestured toward the refs, pointing at Paige and shouting that she'd been pushed. The whistle finally blew. The replay on the Jumbotron clearly showed Paige shoving Sophie, but unbelievably, the refs slapped the foul on Sophie instead of Paige. In front of 20,000 fans and multiple camera angles, Sophie Cunningham was called for a foul after getting shoved by Paige Bueckers. Sophie's reaction said it all. This call was pure nonsense.
Sophie, you didn't accept the push good enough, all right? You got to accept the push. You looked at her and you breathe on her, all right? You were breathing on her. So when you do that, you get the foul. That's what happens.
Paige Bueckers' whistle is so superior, it makes it look like Asia Wilson doesn't even have one. Paige Bueckers' Wilson is so severe that it makes Brianna Stewart look like she doesn't get enough foul calls. It would be nice if we get some whistles like that in our favor. It would be nice if every time Kelsey Mitchell gets knocked on her butt, taken to the rack, she gets a foul call. It would be nice if AB going to the rack, she would get a foul call. It would be nice if Sophie Cunningham got mauled all game on the offensive end. No foul calls in her favor.
After watching the replay on the Jumbotron showing clear evidence she'd been fouled, Sophie was caught on camera uttering a frustrated, "God damn it," a feeling every basketball fan could sympathize with. She immediately signaled toward the Fever bench, pleading with her coaches to challenge the call. This should have been the easiest overturn in WNBA history. Yet, bafflingly and maddeningly, the Fever coaching staff didn't use the challenge, leaving Sophie stuck with another phantom foul that gave Paige Bueckers a free pass and punished Indiana for simply playing defense. This wasn't basketball. It felt more like a pro wrestling show, with the refs acting like crooked promoters making sure their favored star got every possible edge. That biased trend didn't stop there. Paige Bueckers kept drawing whistles all night long, earning the kind of superstar treatment that even LeBron James might envy at his peak.
There are some weird ass calls in this game. Why does Paige Bueckers have the SGA pass? You can't even breathe on this girl. First of all, that three she took should never have been a flagrant one for Sophie Cunningham. She got 3 shots and they got the ball possession. I thought that was a joke.
Because at the end of the day, she gets the whistle because she's with the Rainbow Club. You hear me?
Every time a Fever player so much as breathed on Paige Bueckers, the refs somehow found a way to blow the whistle. Meanwhile, Paige was allowed to initiate contact, throw elbows, and play physical basketball without consequence. Welcome to the world of Paige privilege, a phenomenon Wings fans have been reveling in, and the rest of us have been loudly complaining about since her arrival in the league. The rookie was getting calls veteran all-stars can only dream of, while Sophie Cunningham was treated like some random scrub, denied the benefit of the doubt on every 50-50 call. This wasn't even subtle bias. It was officiating with all the finesse of a sledgehammer through a window. Meanwhile, on the Fever bench, Caitlin Clark watched with a frustration so visible it was impossible to miss. She knew exactly what was happening to her teammate. Clark couldn't hide her emotions as Paige poured in points and got every conceivable advantage from the refs. She understood all too well that when she returns from her injury, she'll have to face this same biased treatment that seems to cling to certain players. The contrast couldn't have been more glaring. Clark has spent her career getting mauled by defenders with no calls, forced to earn every point through grit and skill. Meanwhile, rookie Paige Bueckers is treated like she's made of glass, deserving of protection no one else receives. This kind of uneven officiating erodes fans' faith in the integrity of the league. The game itself took a backseat to the officiating circus, but the Fever still made it interesting. Despite playing with only 9 players and battling phantom fouls, Indiana clawed back from a 17-point deficit in the second half. Dallas built what should have been an insurmountable lead, riding balanced scoring and the refs' generous foul interpretations. Maddie Seagrees led the Wings with 22 points in her first start since June, while Lee Yoryu chipped in 20 off the bench, giving Dallas the firepower to maintain control. For much of the night, it looked like the Wings would cruise to an easy win behind their rookie and her personal officiating crew. But this is the WNBA. No lead is safe, and the Fever have built their identity on never backing down, even when the odds and officials are stacked against them. Indiana's furious fourth-quarter comeback rocked Gamebridge Fieldhouse and shook Dallas players who thought the game was theirs. A 19-3 run to close the game turned a blowout into a nail-biter. Kelsey Mitchell, playing point guard in Clark's absence, scored 24 points and nailed clutch shots down the stretch. Sophie Cunningham added 14 points despite spending most of the game battling ridiculous foul calls that would have shattered lesser competitors mentally. The final minute was chaos. Both teams traded baskets, and suddenly the refs, after calling everything for Dallas all night, quieted their whistles. With 33 seconds left, Mitchell hit a tough shot in the lane, cutting the Fever's deficit to 1. Paige Bueckers missed a jumper from the free throw line with 14 seconds remaining, giving Indiana a final chance to steal the win. The Fever grabbed the rebound and called timeout with 1.7 seconds left, drawing up a play for Mitchell to complete the comeback. But the basketball gods weren't smiling. Mitchell's corner 3 at the buzzer hit the side of the backboard instead of dropping through the net. The Wings escaped with an 81-80 victory that felt less like a win and more like a robbery. Dallas improved to 9-24, while Indiana dropped to 18-15, left to stew in the frustration of a game they deserved to win. Paige Bueckers posted solid stats, sure, but the real story was how she got those numbers. With a kind of favorable officiating that turns basketball into a predetermined spectacle, Sophie Cunningham finished with 14 points on efficient shooting, but more importantly, she demonstrated the mental toughness and competitive fire that make her indispensable. Phantom fouls against her and missed calls on legitimate fouls would break most players, but Sophie kept grinding on both ends. Her performance is exactly why Caitlin Clark praises her teammates' professionalism and basketball IQ. Sophie found ways to impact the game despite the refs working against her. This game's implications go far beyond one loss. It exposed everything wrong with modern WNBA officiating. Young stars like Paige Bueckers get protected to a degree that changes how defense can be played against them, while established players like Sophie Cunningham are treated like afterthoughts. This inconsistent and biased approach makes fans question whether games are decided by players or refs. Last night was Exhibit A, when a player shoves an opponent and the foul is called on the victim. The system is broken. Looking ahead, this sets up intriguing storylines. Caitlin Clark's eventual return will come with fresh motivation after witnessing her teammate get jobbed. The rivalry between Clark and Bueckers, already intense given their college history and draft positions, now has a heated officiating subplot that will make future matchups must-watch. Sophie Cunningham proved she can handle whatever the refs throw at her, but whether the league addresses the obvious bias is another question. The Fever's playoff chances took a hit, but their late-game fight shows the character to overcome adversity, even when that adversity wears an official's uniform. Kelsey Mitchell's leadership in Clark's absence has been remarkable, and performances like last night's 24-point effort prove Indiana's not a one-woman show. The chemistry between Mitchell, Cunningham, Howard, and Boston is growing, and with Clark back, this team is a legit championship contender who won't be bullied by biased officiating or manufactured controversy. For Dallas, this win might feel good short-term, but victories won through favorable whistles instead of superior basketball won't build lasting toughness. Paige Bueckers is undeniably talented and will have a great career, but relying on referee protection instead of pure skill could stunt her growth. Dallas finished the season series against Indiana 1-3, a clear indicator of which team performs better when calls are fair. Social media has erupted, demanding officiating accountability and questioning whether certain players get special treatment that undermines competitive integrity. Sophie Cunningham's frustrated "goddammit" has become a rallying cry for fans tired of games decided by whistles instead of play. When players, coaches, and fans see obvious bias in real time, it's time for the league to seriously reevaluate officiating standards. The fact that multiple camera angles showed Paige shoving Sophie, yet the foul was called on Sophie, raises serious concerns about referees' understanding of the rules. What's most infuriating is the glaring disparity in treatment. Veterans like Sophie Cunningham, who've earned respect through years of hard work, are treated like disposable pawns in favor of league narratives centered on golden children, rookies like Paige Bueckers, who receive superstar-level protection. This system rewards hype over substance and punishes players who embody true competitive basketball. The contrast is especially stark when comparing Caitlin Clark's rookie season, where she was mauled nightly with no calls and had to earn every point, to Paige Bueckers' rookie campaign, laden with advantages Clark never received. When rules are applied inconsistently, stats and achievements lose meaning as measures of true ability.